What's up, guys? This is Nick from Art City Poker, and in today's vlog, I'm going to be discussing the topic of exploitative play versus GTO play. So I've had like some of the feedback on my videos, and I've had some people ask me like what exactly defines GTO play and how it differs from exploitative play, or what do those mean essentially. So exploitative play, I guess we'll start with that one, is basically it just is what the name is what it sounds like, basically, I guess, if I said that right. You just exploit your opponent's tendencies in an unbalanced way, usually. Like when you usually get out of line to exploit somebody, like a player and their tendencies, then you're usually going to be exploitable yourself. Now, this style of play is usually going to be probably the best way to go about winning the maximum, like in low stakes live games, micro or like low stakes online games. And then even some mid stakes games and some high stakes games, you'll find players that are exploitable and you can get out of line yourself. But the higher up you get, I think the more like the better players will be able to adjust and exploit you too. So basically, it's just exploiting your opponent's tendencies. If you guys want, I guess, a practical example, let's say you have an opponent that open raises in a live 2-5 game or whatever, but they fold like 90% plus time to a 3-bet. So what you can obviously start doing to exploit them is just 3-betting relentlessly with hands like 10-4 suited or like Queen-6 offsuit, because they're just folding so often that it's going to be printing money. It doesn't matter what your two cards are. Now, if your opponent's any good at all, or other players at the table start to notice this, then they'll notice that you have now kind of unbalanced yourself in a way that where you're probably really bluff heavy with your 3-betting range. Like you'll have a lot more bluff combos than value combos, then you'll be exploitable to 4-bets yourself. Or opponents can basically open and then flat you with like a lot of strong hands and get you post flop in that way if you're exploitable, where you just barrel with like too wide of a range type of deal. But I think you guys get the point. I don't need to go into like further detail with that. I think that it's basically just finding an opponent's tendency and then exploiting them. And when you do that, you're going to be unbalanced yourself or exploitable. But a lot of players in the low stakes games, whether it's live or online, they are not going to be able to adjust and really exploit you. So that's going to be the best way to maximize your profits. Now, GTO style play, or like game theory optimal play, is very math driven, very based on frequencies. Like it's, if I had to sum it up or say it as like in short of a way as I can, it's basically just making yourself unexploitable. You're just playing in a way that you're so balanced that your opponent can never like profit off of you by exploiting you and exploiting like tendencies, exploiting ranges that are unbalanced. Now, you can play a GTO style in low stakes games and you'll profit still just because you're not exploitable, but it's not going to be the best way to go about maximizing your profits. Now, if you, let's say you are like a 2-5 regular in your casino or whatever, and all of a sudden there's a 5-10 game or like even a 10-25 game or whatever have you, and let's say you sit down with, you know, like 3 or 4 really good pros or something, and you know that they're playing an aggressive, like balanced style of play, or you just are having trouble like handling like these guys, whether they're in position or out of position on you, then you might want to revert back to more of like a game theory optimal style of play, because then you won't be exploitable yourself, and it'll allow you to play a little more balanced and make yourself a little tougher to play against, at least in the eyes of your opponents. And when you play a game theory, more like a game theory style of play, you're going to be often more polarized. Like there's many spots where you're going to be betting like the top of your range and then the bottom of your range, and then the middle of your range you'll be often trying to get to showdown or basically not bloat the pot with, and you'll be either checking back or like bluff catching with that part of your range. But and there's going to be spots where you deviate from that a little bit, but I do think that those, I mean, that's basically what constitutes GTO style play, is just being balanced and not being exploitable for the most part. So I do think that, to kind of wrap it up, exploitive play, it works better at the lower stakes or with worse players. That's the best way to go about maximizing your profits. I think GTO style play, it's nice to be able to like default to that or switch to that if you have a tougher lineup, or a lineup where like maybe you're having trouble finding exploitable tendencies with your opponents, or you feel like maybe you're getting too out of line and you're exploitable yourself, and you want to make sure that you are basically not able to be run over by your opponents. So I do think that there is room for both styles of play. I definitely use them. I always say in my videos, and even when I'm playing live, I think I worry too much about balance in basically playing like more of, or like wanting to play a little more of a game theory style of play. But recently I've been very conscious of trying to play more exploitative and really make sure I exploit my opponent's tendencies. And that's how I learned the game and grew up playing. And then I just studied GTO play so much just to prep myself for when I play against good opponents, that I think sometimes I default to that too much. So, definitely knowing your opponents is key, knowing what kind of game you're in. And if you see spots to exploit people, then go for it. And if you start to notice that they are able to adjust and exploit you, then you can default back to a little bit more of a GTO style play, and then you'll probably be fine. So I hope that explained to you guys in a shorter and concise way of what those two styles mean. And if you guys have any questions or feedback about either or anything in the vlog, then just let me know as always. So this is Nick from Arch City Poker saying take care.